Chris hit us up. He said, why do people just assume Ohio State can win a national title every year? My answer is because they can win a national title every year.
Lay hold of it. You lay hold of it. And when that thing tells you to quit, you look at it in his eye and say, I ain't going nowhere. I will break you before you break me. You will not defeat me. You will not destroy me. Some of you are so ignorant. You've been through so much hell. You gonna quit now? You should have quit 10 years ago. You should have been quit. You don't quit now. It's the 10th round. You got 2 more to go. And when you get to success, it's not about skill. When you get to a certain level of success, it's about stamina. It's about stamina. It's about you won't break me. You can't take me. It's too late now. It's too late. You should have broke me a long time ago. I'm unbreakable now. The only chance at this point is you gotta kill me. And you gotta kill me now. And then when you kill me, my legacy will live.
So are we. Ryan Day said, so are we, when Pat McAfee said that Indiana is a legit team. Well, he was right, because Ohio State looks like the best team in the country after defeating Indiana 38-15 in this one. I'm JR, hosting the post-game show of Ohio State, Indiana, with my co-host Mike. Going to be talking about everything that went on in the game. Mike, what were your thoughts on the game, just general, getting into it at first?
Man, my thoughts on the game, man. Go Bucks, man. Like you said, Ryan Day, was everybody was hyping up Indiana, saying that they're a serious team. But like Ryan Day said, so are we. And everybody want to talk about Googling Kirk Cignetti, man. How about you Google them Buckeyes? You know what I'm saying? Know where you at. Know where you have been, bro.
That's right. Google them Buckeyes. That's for sure. I thought it was funny, the big noon kickoff. I think you could tell that they were a little annoyed with Ohio State fans talking about big noon. They were, because there was a lot of pro-Indiana coverage in this game. I actually thought Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson were pretty okay. I didn't have too many issues with them. But, I mean, overall, how are you going to complain as an Ohio State fan coming out of this game? Just a great W for Ohio State. You can talk about Indiana's frauds, whatever. I don't really care about that as much as I just care about Ohio State. For 3 quarters put together, the most complete game they have this season long. Like I said, only for 3 quarters, though. How nervous were you in that first quarter there, Mike?
I was a little nervous, man. I'm like we have been talking about week to week, as we keep talking about the slow starts in the first quarter continue to plague the Buckeyes. I know I'm tired of it. I'm sure you're tired of it as well. But that was just like the start of it, man. Just tired of those slow starts.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it was tiresome for sure. Mike, before we get into it a little bit more, I do need to ask, do you think that Ryan Day scoring that last touchdown was a little bit of him telling Kirk Cignetti to stop talking so much?
Oh, it definitely was. And I don't even think that it was just Ryan Day, because if you were watching the pre-games, because I had on one television, I had ESPN Game Day, and the other one, I had Big Noon Kickoff, right? And so I'm like, turning the volume up on one, turn the volume up on the other, and everything. And they were talking about, Justin Fry, that's his alma mater, right? That's where he's from. And he just kept talking about, I don't know the exact quote that was used, but basically it was along the lines of, the loudest one in the room or whatever doesn't know what they're talking about half the time and stuff like that. So I think it was just the team wanting to give them a piece of the humble pie. And it's like, bro, like, we're still the Buckeyes. Like, y'all been doing your thing, but you need a little bit of humble pie right here.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State definitely wants to be known as the down there on the banner, I should say Indiana, not Northwestern. But Ohio State should be
Oh,
known as the best team in the Big Ten, especially this year. Unfortunately, falling to Oregon at Oregon makes that a little bit questionable. But I think after this game, with the way that Oregon game ended and Ohio State having 2 top 5 wins now, I think there's an argument for Ohio State being the #1 ranked team in all of college football this season. I know if we have any Oregon fans, they'll say we're crazy, but I think that game was close enough, and it was on the road that if you really want to, you can say Oregon hasn't played anybody so far this season. So who knows? Maybe they're frauds and they just played one good game.
I mean, and that's the thing, right? They played their best game early in the season, and they haven't had to play anybody else. Where Ohio State has had to play other people, and what this is Ohio State's third top 5 matchup, right?
Yep.
And you can say what you want about Indiana. Well, they're not going to be top 5, but a lot of teams don't finish top 5, but you have still held it against Ryan Day, right? So I mean, Ryan Day goes ahead, gets his top 5 win again, making his percentage even better. And for him to be able to do this with everything that's been going against him, especially the offensive line, we were coming into the season, the biggest question marks, right? To be able to continuously build on that, have that success. And it looks like these guys are willing to fight for Ryan Day. And, a lot of the fan base hasn't been rocking with Ryan Day at certain points, but how can you not? These guys are showing you this is the guy that they want as their coach. This is the guy that they're fighting for.
For sure, man. I think when you look at this game and everything that went into it for Ohio State, the offensive line has to be the #1 most talked about thing. Obviously, special teams also deserves to be talked about, but what the offensive line was able to do in this game, Ohio State didn't run the ball super well for most of the game. Now they ran the ball much better down the stretch. You could say Indiana maybe had given up a little bit by then, or maybe they were tired by then at that point, but definitely the numbers are going to look good after this game. What did you think of the offensive line, though, Mike? Did you think that it impressed you? Do you think it was just good enough? I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
I like the pass protection, and I think the running game has more to do with communication and chemistry, and it's just these guys don't have it, right? Like you could sit here and say, Austin Searville, he played in those 2 games at left guard. Yeah, he played in those 2 games at left guard because Donnie was out. He didn't get that chemistry with Donnie. He also didn't get that chemistry with Carson Hinsman. So, and we saw when the offensive line, how it was when they first came out there after the Simmons injury. It took them a little bit of time before they caught their rhythm and stuff, right? And, I mean, obviously they don't have enough. They don't have a little bit of time. Like you did say, they started to do a little bit better as the game went on. Going into next week, hopefully they could continue to build on that. And, knock on wood, as long as we don't have any more injuries, they should be able to build on that because I like what I'm seeing out of Donovan Jackson at the left tackle position, man. The guy is really, to me, like we've been talking about his stock going up. I just think his stock continues to go up.
Yeah, I looked last week, and he had grown 15 spots in the PFF draft stock rankings, kind of their big board and what they have. So for a guy to get into the top 50 and really start solidifying himself up there, he could play himself into a first-round pick. I mean, guards don't normally go in the first round, but if you have a guard who has shown the capability to play tackle and play at a high level like Donovan Jackson has been able to do, let's not lie about it. Like, Mikal Kamara has had a good season so far this year. Sure, he hasn't faced anybody, but that was a good opponent he went up against for most of the game, and he handled him in this game. Now, I do have some concerns about the run blocking. I'm with you. There was maybe some issues with the communication. Austin Searville, it seemed like, maybe he's just getting back used to it a little bit. Indiana did technically by 3 yards outrush Ohio State if you do the sack adjusted rushing yards, but it definitely didn't seem like that. I mean, it definitely didn't look like that when you were watching the game. So I felt good about it overall, though. I'd like to see it continue, and we'll get a really good test next week as the team up north has one of the best defensive lines in the country. That's really all they have that's good so far this season. So we'll see how it goes. Mike, the special teams. I know we're hopping around a little bit here. We'll get to the rest of the offense here in a second, but the special teams was huge. Obviously, the fumbled snap by the punter. You're opportunistic, though. You take care of business. You get the ball, and the offense punches it in. But then after that, Caleb Downs breaks the 10-year streak almost at the day. What was it like?
Almost,
today is
it was like November 11th. Yeah, so it's just a few days after. Yep.
And versus Indiana, right? Like,
yep.
I mean, this is 3 weeks in a row with special teams making a play. Some way, somehow making some kind of play. It's really, really been good to see, and I think it's really amplified this team and their juice and the confidence they're playing with.
I 1000% agree, man. It definitely is amplifying them. And, you know, I've been the guy sitting here saying, I don't think that we're going to see the special teams touchdown. I don't think that we're going to see it. But, you know, I believe Ted Ginn had actually spoken into existence or whatever in the pregame. So shout out to Ted Ginn. And like you said, the last time we got to see it was Jalen Marshall, you know, going out there, going crazy. And it was just good to see Caleb Downs, the moves that he was able to make. And, you know, shout out to the guys for continuously blocking, because that's the thing. And the piece that I had felt was missing was the blocking. And so shout out to our guys for doing that, man.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, like, let's be real here for a minute. Okay. Travis Hunter gets the love as the best player in the country because of what he's doing with so many snaps and stuff like that. And that's fine. Okay. You know, he's probably going to win the Heisman, but let's just be real honest for a second. Is Caleb Downs the best college football player in the country?
Definitely one of them, man. I mean,
I think so, man. I think so.
You got a couple of them, man. You could say Caleb Downs. I mean, you got a good one over there in Jeremiah. I mean, I was literally screaming at my TV when Caleb Downs ran it back. And I was like, this is why you recruit these guys. They are the game changers, They are the playmakers. This is exactly why you go out and get those type of guys, man.
Yeah, and this is what I was saying when Ryan Day talked in the offseason about possibly putting Caleb Downs at the running back position. I was like, well, why in the world are we doing that? Just put him back there on punt return. Like, if you want to put the ball in his hands, there's an obvious area of need that is not excelled here under Ryan Day, and you have a guy who can do it. He took a punt back last year. Now, I think that was against like Chattanooga or something, but still, he took a punt back last year. That's still something that's very difficult to do. And then going to take them. What's up?
Ole Miss falls to Florida. It is official.
Yeah.
Late INT seals the Gators win.
That's crazy.
Hey, all the SEC fans thought we should get 5 teams in. No.
Yeah. That's how you miss the SEC championship game right there. Is you just lose and you don't make it.
So, I mean, Indiana should still be in with they one loss. Bam. I don't want to hear it. 4-4.
I think so. All right, let's get to Will Howard. All right, Will Howard, 22 for 26, 201 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception. I really wouldn't say the interception was his fault, though. I don't even know if I blame Jelani too much. He was being held like crazy on that one. He still had it in his hands, so he should bring it in. But, I mean, at the end of the day, tell me first what you thought about the interception, and then tell me what you thought about Will Howard overall.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, like, maybe Will Howard could have had the ball a little bit lower, but then that's just being ticky-tack or whatever. It was obvious from the beginning that the refs were definitely not going to give Ohio State anything, right? That they were going to call the game one way. And like Ryan Day said, you had to go in this game and leave no doubt. And that's what the Buckeyes had to go do. Obviously, you hate to see those type of turnovers, right? When that happens, if you can't get the ball, you need to smack it down to the ground or something. but he was being held on to, and that's what I was kind of alluding to was like the refs just weren't going to call that for Ohio State. We got to make those plays. But Will Howard, man, I'm highly impressed. I kept saying, Will need to show me, Will need to show me. And to be honest, these past few weeks, Will has continued to show me, man. He was out there dotting it up. The touchdown to Emeka Egbuka. I love to see it. You even though the defender was able to get like the graze of his fingertip on it, though he really had to do something. He was reaching back almost, like having to do something very athletic just to make that happen. So, I mean, what Will is out there doing, dissecting, I love it. I want to see more of it. And I think that the coaching staff, like, screw the dink and dunk stuff. Let Will sling this ball, because I think that he now has the capability. I also think that he has the chemistry with the guys now to be able to do that. What do you think about the chemistry that he has with the guys as the season has been coming along? Because he doesn't seem like he's missing those throws like he was earlier in the year.
Yeah, no, I think the chemistry is off the charts right now. And the impressive thing is it's with every single one of them, right? I mean, early on in the game, Carnell Tate catches like the first 3 or 4 balls because Indiana was so hyper-focused on Jeremiah Smith. Emeka Egbuka obviously had the touchdown catch there, but Carnell Tate was really his kind of primary wide receiver. Let's face it, you have 3 wide receiver ones on this team. You have 3 wide receivers on this team that would be wide receiver 1 at 95% of other programs in college football right now. And when you have all 3 of them and the defense tries to take away Jeremiah Smith, guess what? There's Carnell Tate. You try to take away Emeka Egbuka, guess what? There's Jeremiah Smith. You try to take away Carnell Tate, or guess what? You have Emeka Egbuka. Like, somebody's going to be out. Nobody has 3 cornerbacks in the country that are good enough to cover all 3 of these guys. And so what it really comes down to is the only way Ohio State is going to lose in the passing game is if Ohio State beats themselves, is if Will Howard doesn't make the right decisions, is if the guys drop the ball, if the guys run bad routes, if these guys play to their ability and they find each other and the ball is thrown accurately, even when the ball's not thrown accurately sometimes, they're still going to make plays out there and just do spectacular things. We almost saw another one-handed catch by Jeremiah Smith in this game. The holding on him obviously prevented it, but man, I tell you, if he had made that catch, I think the shoe miuld have exploded with how
it definitely would have, bro. It definitely would have exploded. I think he would have gave himself. I think he slowed down a tad bit, like a couple steps too soon. And I think if he didn't do that, he probably would have had a better chance at getting that ball. But yeah, the shoe definitely would have exploded. Everybody is in there waiting to see like when they're going to get their chance to see, a JJ explosive catch. And, even in his one catch that he did have, and he gave himself up and just ran out of bounds. And my wife was like, why'd you get excited? I said, because you don't know what JJ can do, like, or is going to do. You don't know, like, he gave himself up there, but we've seen JJ just go ahead, spin back in or cut back in or whatever, like we did last week. He was just running all over, making plays or whatever before, the guy did the little dirty play that the Big Ten said should have been fouled. But hey, I'm sure that they're going to say, hey, there were other things that they should have called, because I felt like IU had at least 4 unsportsmanlike moments that could have been called, and they threw nothing. But they wanted to throw everything on us. So.
Yeah, Ohio State has been averaging 25 opponents' penalty yards against them so far this season, and I was tracking it this game. IU had 3 penalties for 15 yards. So Ohio State, this is last in college football, everybody. I mean, literally, the next closest team, I believe, is Penn State, and they are 34 opponent penalty yards against them this season. I mean, their closest is 34, and Ohio State's average just got even lower because there was only 15 penalty yards in this game. So if anybody's out there on Twitter like, oh, Ohio State always gets the calls, like, they obviously have no idea what they're talking about. Go look it up at any place right now. Opponent penalty yards, Ohio State has the lowest of anybody by far in all of college football right now. It's completely ridiculous. The running backs, Mike, Travion Henderson finishes with 9 carries, 68 yards, a touchdown. Probably should have been 2 touchdowns, but he slides there at the end of the game. And Quinshaw Judkins, not the greatest performance in the world. 14 attempts for 36 yards, 2.6 yards per carry. He was running hard though. I mean, every single time he got the ball, he was getting hit, and he was chucking some guy or running some guy over. What'd you think of the running backs in this one?
Oh man, Travion, the guy is just special, and I think that this is his best year yet. What he's doing, consistently running behind his pads, and we seen that again this game. I love it. He should have been tackled in the backfield. A moment in the game, spins out of it or whatever, and gets yards. Like, I am loving this Travion Henderson that we are seeing. And I don't know what's going on with what's happening with Judkins, man. And I don't know if it's because of the old line or what is happening. Sometimes I do feel like he's not seeing the cutback lanes or hitting the hole when he actually sees it and trusting his eyes. So maybe that's something that he just needs to work a little bit more on. But I mean, Trey was definitely the hot hand out there to me.
Yeah, I mean, Quinshaw did have 2 catches for 7 yards, and one of those, I believe, was a first down, that catch. So still able to have some production there. Obviously not a lot, but there's still some production there. I don't know what's going on with Quinshaw right now. I hope he can find it. I mean, he is kind of like the first and second down back right now, so obviously they're going to be looking for him when he is in the game to be running more often. So I don't know if that's a part of it, but I think you're right. I think he's just having a little bit of a harder time seeing it right now.
I will say this. On that toss play, they screwed him. The O-line screwed him. And then on that short fourth down, someone was asking, like, man, why was Judkins tiptoeing? And I said, he's tiptoeing because Tegra is in the backfield. Tegra was in the backfield. Like, that's why that shouldn't even happen, bro. We do got to see a little bit better stuff out of Tegra, man. He has to be better, especially going up against his D-line coming up next week.
I was surprised they ran behind Tegra on that one. I would have thought you would have ran behind Austin Seierveld, who Donovan Jackson was praising, calling him a monster in one of his interviews the other day, talking about how much he lifts and how much he's able to do. So I thought maybe you would have went with Seierveld, but it was early in the game, and of course Seierveld getting his first start in a few weeks now. By the way, this is the 5th different offensive line that Ohio State has started this season. I know we already talked about the offensive line, but Mike, I mean, tell me if this is an audacious statement or not. And this is coming from somebody that's not a huge Justin Fry believer, but I'm just looking at the country right now and seeing everything that's going on. Like, if Ohio State wins the Big Ten with the 5th different offensive line, I mean, Justin Fry is going to get talk for winning the best offensive line coach in the country. Am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong. And so here's been my take on Justin Fry, because I kind of had the same take on Perry Eliano, right? Like, Perry Eliano, his only thing on his resume was the cornerbacks at Cincinnati, but then he comes to Ohio State as a safeties coach. So what do you have to do? You can't use the resume of I did cornerbacks. You're coaching safeties now, right? Also, it was like when we got Justin Fry here, it was, who can you name on his resume of putting in the NFL? And that's what I think that us as fans have to understand, that sometimes these coaches, if we bring them in, they're going to have to build up their resume. They're going to have to show these guys something. And right now, if I'm an O-lineman, if I'm sitting here and I'm a guard or whatever, you're telling me this guy can develop me to where if I make it to the NFL and someone gets hurt there, they're going to pay me good money in the NFL because they know, hey, they could switch me out to tackle because of the Justin Fry development, right? Like,
yep.
I mean, this is stuff that I think he is building his resume, and if this continues and goes into the playoffs like this, and they make a good run in the playoffs with this type of O-line, how could you not? And I mean, we normally talk about recruiting later in the show, but is that might be a reason why we had offensive tackle, that came out there is like he also has the potential to start next year. We're looking for a tackle, right? We have a guard who we're developing. Hey, we dropped him about 70 pounds, 40, 70 pounds, right? And look at what he's doing. Each week he's getting better at tackle in season. So, I mean, I like what Fry's doing. And I just feel like once his resume, and you can say, hey, I put this guy out here. I put this guy out here. And look, your talent's up here. I had this guy telling it was down here. And I was able to go ahead and put him in the third round. Your talent, I can see you being first round. Like, why not? Now he has that resume. I hope that he'll be able to build on that and use it. Now, I don't like the strategy of the small man classes. Got to go get more offers out there. I do want to see that. But I think that's where Ryan Day should help pick up the slack.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that's the biggest thing with Justin Fry after this one. And what really in this season noticing is like I said before the season started, I do believe the development is there for the most part. Like, I don't know if he's like top tier developer where he's going to have a first round offensive lineman every year, like, like Brian Hartline does with wide receivers. But I do think that the development is there for guys to be able to start. And then I totally agree with Ryan Sims when he was saying that Chip Kelly as the OC has helped Fry out a lot. I mean, like, let's just go back to it. When has Justin Fry had his best years as offensive line coach? It's when Chip Kelly has been either the head coach or the offensive coordinator. Now, I'm not going to give all credit to Chip Kelly because, I mean, the man still does coach the offensive line. It's still his room, right? Like, I'm going to give him his credit, but I am also going to acknowledge that, like, yeah, you've been your best when Chip Kelly is there. So, that's probably one of the reasons why you're having such a good year this year. Not the only reason why, but one of the reasons why you're probably having a good year this year. All right, Mike, let's move on over to defense. We'll talk some recruiting here at the end of the show. The defense in this one, pass rush. I mean, chef's kiss, A+. I mean, what else could you have wanted to see from the pass rush out of this one? The Jack Sawyer had himself a sack and a half. JT Tuimoloau had himself a sack. Cody Simon had 2.5 sacks in this one. Only 5 sacks overall in the game. Felt like there were more than that, but that was also just because Curtis Rourke, I mean, man, he was trying to survive for his life back there. It was not going well for large parts of this game. What do you think of the defense, Mike?
Love the defense. Was kind of worried about what the heck was going on, the first drive we was allowing them to get down there, but when you think about it, the penalties was setting them up in good position, things like that. But once we started attacking them, man, there was almost nothing that they could do. And to be honest, I know Nose likes to play this cat and mouse game, but I kind of wish we had came out aggressive. And it's like we almost always end up getting to that aggressive moment and stuff in game. I want to see us start off with it, man, because that was exciting watching Cody Simon get back there. He had 2.5. And then also, man, we also had, a total of 8 tackles for loss. Just getting in the backfield and believe that we could have had more tackles for loss too. So it was just good watching the defense swarm around the ball and get pressure. And I felt like we were in Indiana's head the whole time. It started off getting ahead of the quarterback. And from there, it just trickled to the whole team to me. Especially their special guys, they didn't want to catch the ball. Key downs, they didn't want to catch the ball. And all we heard from their coach, hey, Google, Mr. Google me, is we're ready for these moments. We was at JMU and we had to play this game. Nobody called on us, and we went in there, took care of business. Mr. Google me, that's what you said, right? They weren't ready for this moment, man.
Yeah. Ohio State's defense, they gave up quite a bit on that first drive. I tend to believe that some of that was due to the penalties. I think that Ohio State probably would have stopped them if it wasn't for 1, maybe 2 penalties that Davis and Igbinosun had. But you can't get rid of it. At the end of the day, he had the penalties, and Indiana moved the ball. That's part of the game, so you can't get rid of them. But Ohio State, their defense after that first drive, they woke up after the first quarter. Really, they woke up and they were not letting They were not letting Indiana have any of it. I think it really showed how much Ohio State was able to disguise some of their blitz packages and stuff. I think that the running back and the tight end, they were kind of praising. I think that his name's Horton, Zach Horton. They were kind of praising him a little bit on the show, which he does deserve praise. He's had a good season this year, but in this one, him and the running back, they just were not able to identify where the blitz was coming from. Jim Knowles did a really good job of disguising it, and the Ohio State players did a really good job of getting at the line of scrimmage right when the ball was about to be snapped. So there was Indiana was not able to adjust when Ohio State showed the blitzes that were coming. So just a great job by them. Sonny Styles, I know the stats. He had 8 tackles overall, 1 tackle for loss. So not crazy stats or anything like that, but he was second leading tackler in this one. I thought he had one of the best games of his career. I mean, I think he was there in a lot of situations. You didn't see him, get ran over or anything like that. I felt like he was in good position a lot of time. And what do you think of Sonny Styles and the linebackers in this one?
Yeah, Sonny Styles. He just continues to get better and better as this season goes along. There are moments where I'm like, he could trigger, but again, we're not going to be ticky-tack today. Sonny Styles was out there balling, man, and just what, hopefully he can just continue to build on that. And this is why I keep telling you all that game reps, you could do all this stuff in practice, man. And I remember my coaches used to say, are you a practice hero or, are you able to ball out in the game? And I understand, a lot of coaches want to say, hey, you play like you practice, man. But there's just something about game reps. Like Ryan Day had been talking all season about the experience, man. And those game reps, they're undefeated. They're undefeated. The more game reps you get, the more confident you can be, because it's different being confident in practice with your guys, with your buddies, than being on the field knowing millions of people are watching and a roaring crowd.
I know people are probably watching other games right now, but Illinois just scored with 5 seconds left to beat Rutgers in that game. 40-yard touchdown pass with 5 seconds left. That is actually insane that just happened.
I mean, hey, I like to tell SEC fans, SEC fans be like, oh, man, the ranked team here clues to anybody. We see it all the time in the Big Ten, bro. It can happen anywhere. So, I mean,
I was gonna say, we need to keep Illinois ranked just so the Big Ten has at least, more than 4 ranked teams at this point. So come on, Illinois, help us out here. All right.
Yeah.
It's just kind of crazy that happened as you were talking. All right, let's have the hard conversation. All right, we were gonna talk about it at the beginning, and then I was like, you know what, I don't want to crap on the dude right at the beginning of the show. But not a great game for Davison Igbinosun. 3 penalties, 3 that I saw. I don't know, maybe there were more. At one point, I was up doing some other things, and so I did miss a couple plays. It could have been Davison Igbinosun had another penalty there, but 3 pass interference or holding penalties on Davison Igbinosun in this game. He was kind of taken out there for a little bit. Jermaine Matthews comes in. I mean, Mike, is there a real conversation about Davison Igbinosun not starting and Jermaine Matthews starting instead? Do you think it's just kind of you got to let Iggy go out there, kind of let him play his game? If he's struggling, then that's when you bring Jermaine in? Like, what are your thoughts here?
Here's the thing, and how I look at it is yes, you want Iggy to be better, right? But when we brought Iggy in, guess what Iggy is doing? Iggy is being Iggy. We had no issues with this last year, right? I mean, maybe he's doing it a little bit more. They're calling it a little bit more than last year, I would say. But
I don't think he had 10.
Yeah, I mean, they're calling it a lot more than they were. But Iggy is a physical guy. Always has been, always probably will be, right? And here's the thing. I don't have the issues of him getting burnt all the time. I don't have the issues of him giving up the touchdown all the time. Now, he gets us in bad positions sometimes. Yeah, he does that. But it's something that I think that we're going to have to live with. I will say this about the coaching staff. I think that the week that Jim Knowles said we're going to make Iggy wear the mitts, and he said Iggy doesn't like wearing the mitts, none of that. But I think we're going to have Iggy wearing the mitts. I want to say that game, coming out of the week of him wearing the mitts, was his best game of the
I
season.
thought so. Yeah.
And so I don't understand why you go away from things that work. Like, and I think our coaching staff does that a little too much. And it's like, if it's working, don't change it. Don't fix it. I think Iggy needs to be in the midst every single day at practice, every single day until the season is over with and he turns in his pants, or, or they say, hey, Buckeyes, you don't got another game to play. That man needs to have the mitts on every time, because I think that's the only way.
Those mitts on or something, like.
I mean, I see Emeka Egbuka always doing the grilling commercials, right? Let me go ahead and Iggy needs to join him with them mitts. Good home defense. Get your mitts.
I'm for it. Just to quote the stats, and I'm not trying to say anything against him here, because I actually do like Iggy a lot, but he has had 10 penalties in the last 6 games so far this season. 10 overall penalties. The coaching staff has to figure out something to do with Iggy, because Iggy is too good of a player. He has too good of juice. He brings too much to the table for this team for him not to start. So at this point, like, whatever they have to do, whether it's the mitts in practice or mitts on him in games at this point, I mean, I don't know what to do, but they've got to figure out something to not let him hold so much, because he does bring a lot to this team. And this is nothing against Jermaine Matthews. I like Jermaine Matthews a lot too. But yeah, I mean, and Terry's pointing out, I don't know. I didn't want to say it because I don't want to sound like a crybaby. I was already talking about the refs a little bit. I did think it was a little one-sided there for a little bit in the game. But, I mean, did you think it was a penalty? I didn't think it was a penalty.
I don't think it was a penalty.
So,
and everybody keeps saying that if he turns his head, and I don't think that y'all understand that the man saw the ball. He looked this way, saw the ball, and came back and went this way and hit it with his hand. That's looking for the ball. It's not. I mean, I don't know what more you can do as a defender. It was also a crappy ball by the quarterback as well. So I don't know what more you want him to do as a defender. He was right there in phase. I don't think a quarterback should be throwing it right there where he did. Should have probably been a little bit more up to give your wide receiver a chance. He didn't do that. That's on the quarterback, not on the DB. DB, and I'll tell you this, him hitting it with his hand wasn't just luck. I don't believe that it was just luck with him hitting the ball with his arm. Mm-hmm. He knew that the ball was coming right there. He saw that. That's looking. That's what you're supposed to do. So yeah. I had to disagree with you on that. I thought that the ref was, I mean, and then even I've been critical of Joe Klatt, but even Joe Klatt was saying, like, it's not a flag. Like, there were a lot of ticky-tack calls that those refs was, especially the freaking block in the backs. But that wasn't a flag, bro. And if that was a flag, they should have called all the ones for Jeremiah. They should have called the one for on Jelani, and they didn't do that.
Yeah, but I mean, this is what we want Ohio State to do, right? You don't want to put the games in the hands of the referees. The referees obviously were not great in this game, and so you don't want to put the game in their hands at all. You want to win by a substantial margin, a margin enough that it doesn't come down to one play where if Jeremiah Smith pushes off, they call a penalty on him or anything like that, right? So they left no doubt in this game, and that's exactly what they wanted to do. So I think, the praise goes to the team and getting that done. So anything else on defense?
I got a question to ask you.
Go ahead.
We heard in the beginning of the game, Joe Klatt and Gus Johnson were talking about this reffing crew were the most trigger happy with flags. Why would the Big Ten pick this reffing crew for a top 5 matchup? Not only do we have a top 5 matchup at noon, can't get it at night under the lights, right? You just had to go ahead and say, hey, they put a shitty referee crew out. Like, it's that type of game. Like it's not a top 5 game.
Yeah, I don't know how they pick referee crews in these situations. But But whatever they're doing, they got to do something different. I mean, right now you have 5 teams in the Big Ten have the lowest opponent yards, penalty yards per game so far this season. Like we talked about earlier, Ohio State is the absolute lowest, but you have 5 teams in a row that are the 5 lowest in all of college football right now. So obviously the officiating, whatever's going on, there's something going on with the officiating. It's not consistent from referee crew to referee crew, and overall it's not good. I mean, you watch any Big Ten game this year. I mean, Nebraska got screwed last week. USC player was literally tugging on him all the way down to the ground on a Hail Mary attempt that he probably could have caught if he was able to come back to the ball a little bit more. But I mean, at this point, the refereeing is just so crazy bad in the Big Ten. Sounds like it's bad everywhere, though. So, I guess we just have to play through it. I don't know at this point, but it's crazy.
Hey, I was telling all the guys in the group chat, man. I was like, "Hey, this what happens when you play Vegas. This what happens." Because I'm telling you.
What they say, like 70% of people that bet on the game took Indiana to cover, but Ohio State to win or something like that. Like it was a crazy number.
I didn't hear that, but I know like I'm in some other group chats like off Twitter and stuff, and they were like, "Yeah, the Buckeyes about to get upset. They picked the IU. They're betting guys. They picked IU." So I mean, hey, they can enjoy it. They did not hit on their parlays today.
No, they did not. At this point, Ryan Day is now 2-1 in top 5 games so far this season, potentially 3-1 if they make the Big Ten championship game and win that one as well. And then obviously you have the playoffs where you'll be facing at least one, most likely maybe 2 top 5 teams if you win your games and take care of business there. So we could see Ryan Day with what? 5 top 5 wins at the end of the season if they win the national championship. That would just be crazy with the narrative that came into the season and after Oregon. But I think I don't even think you'd have a winning top 5 percentage after that. I think you'd still be 6 and 7.
Man, look, man, y'all better leave Ryan Day alone. Leave my coach alone, man. And I was just happy, today is my birthday. So I was just happy that we were able to go ahead and get the win. I can enjoy my day. So I was happy about that. And, people need to leave Ryan Day alone because wasn't it today that someone had to send a response to the NCAA? So, I mean, things could be changing. Things could be changing.
It's either today or tomorrow. It's one of those two. So, I don't have it memorized like I do Christmas morning, but it sure feels like it. So
we might have to fix that. We might have to fix some things then, JR. I'm just saying.
We might have to.
Folks gonna have to get off my coach.
Well, happy birthday to you, Mike. I'm glad you got an Ohio State win today for your birthday. Everybody, please put a happy birthday in the chat for Mike. Let him know there in the chat. We appreciate it. Mike, let's do special teams. Let's talk about that. Caleb Downs, punt return touchdown, first time in 10 years. We talked about that. The muffed punt snap, whatever you want to call it. Trouble with the snap. That's what I called it. That's what it reminded me of. Trouble with the snap by the Indiana punter. I think Indiana was ready to come into the shoe and play. They had a lot of juiced up guys, but the punter was not ready because he got back there and boy, he fumbled that thing. That was a tough one for him, but Ohio State capitalized on it. What do you think overall of special teams?
Man, shout out to the special teams, man. And when your punters are bobbling the snap, that just means they scared of them guys, man. That's all that means. And it's like they thought that they were the big bad wolf. They got to play all of these other inferior teams. They when they saw what they did to that team up north, and they was like, oh, they're bigger guys. We beat them and everything. Then they got to Ohio State and they said, oh, those guys look different, And I mean, that's just what happens, man. Ohio State guys are just different than all those other teams, man. So special teams obviously did what they had to do. And I'll say this, Ohio State, we've been complaining, talking about, hey, this team got a kicker, this team got a kicker, that team got a kicker. Our kicker kicked it for 45 yards, and I think that ball could have went another 15.
I think that
What
was
do
a
you
career long
think?
for him. Wasn't that a career long for him?
The 45, that's a career long?
I thought so. I thought his career was
Hey.
41 going into
I
the
think
game.
it could have went for another 15 yards.
I think you're right. I mean, he booted that thing, man, and it looked like he had a vengeance to address in that one. At this point, Jaden Fielding, obviously, with how much you're going for it on fourth down and stuff, there's not going to be very many times when you're going to need him late like this. But every time they have needed him, it seems like he's stepped up and he's been there for it. So I props to Jaden Fielding and helping the field goals get better. But most of all, I was so excited to see that punt return from Caleb Downs. I was jumping up and down. I was like, yelling and screaming in the house. The kids are asleep, and I'm, like waking the kids up at this point because I was so darn excited for Caleb Downs getting that done. And my wife was like, "What are you screaming so much about?" And I was like, "That hasn't happened in 10 years. Like, 10 years that hasn't happened. We're feeling good at
Sounds
this
like
point."
me and you had the same exact moment because my daughter was like sleep in my room and everything, and I'm sitting here yelling and screaming, and my wife was asking the same thing, and I'm like, 10 years, 10 years, pointing at the screen as soon as they put it on the bottom of the screen. I'm like, see, 10 years.
I tell you, these noon kicks are hard because my kids have their nap time right around the time of the noon kick, and so I can't be vocal, I can't be yelling and screaming, but I couldn't hold myself back that time. That was a really, really cool thing. I'm glad to see Caleb Downs get it for him and for the Buckeyes. So, Mike, you want to talk some recruiting?
Yeah, let's talk some recruit, man, because people just was popping up today. Like, what was going on, man? And shout out to Tavian St. Clair, being able to go on a national set and not getting the Micah Parsons treatment. I like this day and age because I was worried about that. I ain't gonna lie. I said, oh.
Yeah, Tavian St. Clair was making himself known out there. He was on TV. He had the mic. It was really cool to see. And David Sanders Jr. makes the appearance at the game. He's taking pictures with fans. You got Tavian St. Clair next to him. At one point, somebody snapped a picture of Tavian, and he was like, like pointing at David Sanders, like, "Guys, I got this. No worries." So that was really cool. I do want to talk about what you touched on a little bit before. Like, do you think David Sanders saw and started to notice what Justin Fry has done with the offensive line? Do you think maybe he's seeing this and being like, "Ooh, I could have some early playing time going to Ohio State in this"? Like, what's your thoughts about David Sanders Jr. coming to the shoe?
That's what I was thinking. I think it has to be with all of the issues that, if you look at it, just like I said, you're starting to see the track record. Josh Simmons was one of the worst offensive tackles going into the year, and look at how he got better as the year went on. Was looking to be, play himself in the top 3 rounds or whatever after this season, right? So you see that. Then, they hit another setback. Look what they're still able to do. Two top 5 matchups with a makeshift offensive line and majority all guards. I mean, why wouldn't you? And then next year, we have no tackles. Yeah. We have no tackles. It's not like Ohio State. You're friends with Paris Johnson. Paris Johnson got on the field as a freshman. Now, we didn't put him at tackle because we had tackles, but we need a tackle.
I think Paris Johnson's been in his ear, personally. I think Monica and Paris Johnson, I think they've been in his ear, and they're like, "Hey, you really want to stick with Tennessee? Like, you see what Justin Fry's doing here? Like, you see the opportunity of playing time and what's going on? Like, all right, you might think Tennessee's the right idea for now, but maybe Ohio State make another offer with that NIL and see what's going on there, and come back." I think we were focused on Micah DeBose. We were focused on Damala Ajitahun.
Mm-hmm.
I always got to pause when I say that name. It's always a tough one to say, but and I try to always say the recruits' names the right way. I try to be respectful.
He would have got the initials.
I've done that before too. But apparently it sounds like Micah DeBose might be coming up for the Team Up North game next week. We'll see if that happens. Jeremy Birmingham been saying that that's a real possibility here for a while. And overall, I mean, offensive line recruiting, if you can get one of these tackles, especially if you can take David Sanders away, I think he's probably seeing what's going on at Colorado, right? Like you see Jordan Seaton playing really well over out there at tackle, and you just see freshmen all across the country at this point playing really, really well. Not just for, not just at like guard and stuff like that, but like I said, at tackle, at big positions where they have to be bigger. I think there has to be a notice sent out by Justin Fry and the rest of the staff that like, hey, you come here and you're a freshman, you can play.
And I also want to piggyback off of what you were saying about Paris Johnson, because Paris Johnson only had 1 year at left tackle, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Who had to get him ready?
Had
to get him ready? And I believe also Paris Johnson at the whole time, his first year only being at left tackle, didn't give up a sack.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
So why not go to Justin Fry? This is what I'm saying. Like now you built this resume, and it's like, if you are this caliber of talent, and I can do this with a guy who has a no star or a 3-star or 2-star, right? What can I do with you?
Yeah. I mean, if you have the natural athleticism, if you have the natural, length and size and stuff like that, I think that Justin Fry has shown you bring that in here and I'm going to develop you into something. That was one of the things that, was kind of going against some guys. I mean, look at Josh Fryer. Josh Fryer doesn't even have that. And at this point, he is a serviceable right tackle. I'm not going to say he's great, but he's actually been better than last year. He's been good. He's not even serviceable. He's been good. So I think when you can look at what he's done with Josh Fryer this season, you're liking that a lot. Terry asked the question there about Indiana. I don't know, Terry. We'll have to see what happens with the practice, and we'll just have to see what happens against Purdue. Thankfully, Purdue's not a very good football team, so even if they don't come out with the same edge. But I think at this point, if you're an Indiana fan, your bigger concern is not do you beat Purdue, it's if you get in the college football playoffs. Does the SEC bias take over and they don't get in? I think Ole Miss losing today helps you a lot, but I don't know. SEC bias is strong, man.
Hey, another thing that can help them out as well, if Notre Dame takes an L to Army tonight, on prime time, that can also help Indiana. But this is what I think that they got to do. There's no reason to be down. You lost to the number 2 team in the nation, right? I don't think that there's a reason to be down. I think right now you go ahead, you literally build off of this, and you go smack the heck out of Purdue. Because Purdue was the first name that came out of Kurt Cignetti's mouth when he did the, oh, you suck crap, right? So I think that that's where they need to go. Take that first, is go smack the heck. Leave no doubt against Purdue on offense and defense, and show, because that's going to be your last test to show the playoff committee we belong there. So make it to where the playoff committee, when they're watching all the conference championship games together, they still thinking about, man, what if Indiana was in this game, or how would Indiana look in this game? Make them think about you. Put the style points out. That should be your edge. That should be what you want to do as an Indiana team.
Yeah, totally. I mean, at this point, don't even let Indiana punt against Purdue, and you'll be just fine, right? You don't have to worry about them catching the. Just don't punt in this game. Score 52 on them. I know it's a rivalry game, Terry, but boy, Purdue is bad. And Indiana is a good football team in my mind. So, I'm not one of those fans that's going to go out there calling them fraudulent, because I quite frankly, I'd be kind of hypocritical if I'm calling Indiana fraudulent and then at the same time saying Ryan Day got a top 5 win. It's like, nah,
right.
Seems a little hypocritical to me. But we know those teams up north fans, they don't mind being hypocritical when it comes to the NIL and stuff like that. So, do we want to touch on that, Mike? We want to touch on what's going on up there with their recruiting, or you want to move on?
No, I mean, we were talking recruiting. We can definitely, before we get into that, man, shout out to our guy, Erwin, for the 5. He says, thanks, gents. We appreciate you, Erwin. I was wondering if he had another comment up here that I possibly missed, but I don't think so. But we appreciate you for the 5. But what is going on? I'll tell you this, man. And I just want to say this, JR. That is the most flip-flopping fan base I have ever seen. It was built, not bought. We develop. We don't care about stars to, oh, now we got a star. Oh, we got that bag. We got a bigger bag than Ohio State. We wouldn't spend. I thought it was built like the flip-flopping is crazy. Can y'all be consistent with what y'all are saying or anything? Like, this is why I have said from the beginning, JR, I have told you that program is built on sand. What are they standing on? They have nothing to stand on. They jump to one narrative to another narrative. They can't even keep up with what they're saying. We're watching, shout out our guy Spiro. We're watching him cook them over the flip-flopping that they doing. 1 month you saying this, the next month you saying another thing, and it contradicts itself.
Yep.
So
totally agree. And
what do you think about their recruit?
No, I think you're exactly right. I mean, it was either Sharon Moore or it was the university that literally used the phrase transformational, not transactional. Like, you all are literally trying to make a narrative for your team that, like, hey, come up here and we're gonna transform you. We're not gonna pay you like those other schools that don't care about you. And then now it's like, Bryce Underwood, please come here because we have nothing to offer you but money. Here's $12 million, and come up here and be our quarterback. Actually, don't even come up here. Just stay here and be our quarterback at this point. And it is built on sand. You are exactly right. It is built on sand. They have, I mean, I don't know. They have no pride. They have no self-respect. Like, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them have no pride, have no self-respect about just being who they say they are. They want to talk about how Ohio State bought their roster for $20 million. Well, guess what? You just spent half of what we spent on our roster this year on one kid, or more than half on one kid. So it's completely ridiculous. I do have some concern about them going after one Ohio State commit right now. I do have some concern about Jakeem Stewart. He was practically begging for them to offer him, which was kind of funny. The kid just wants to get paid, which I'm fine with. I really don't care, but he just wants to get paid. You concerned about Quincy Porter going to that team up north, Mike?
Honestly, I find it weird that anybody is going there. To be honest with you, I find it weird. And maybe they know something that we don't know. Maybe the ruling from the NCAA is already out. I don't know. I don't understand why I wouldn't go to a program that could be possibly in limbo. We're watching, I mean, just about every coach from Central Michigan seems to have lost their job in one way or the other. You know, like that program's going down in the dump, but this program's soaring. And the only reason this program is going in the dumps is because of what this program had done. So I think that it's really confusing. The guys that's flipping there, to me, it's confusing. But obviously, Team Up North fans haven't really been outside for me to get an understanding or a gauge of what's really going on with their program. Because, like I said, once they start taking these L's and not looking like the team that they have been for the next 3 years, we're not going to see many of them, right? So the ones who were pretty active, they're basically gone. I haven't really heard too much from them. I could have, kind of trusted a little bit of what they said, but I really don't understand the surge. I guess it's just the money because I don't understand it.
I just think they're straight up lying to him at this point. They're like, oh, yeah, that old thing? Like, that thing was last year. What are you talking about? Nothing's going to happen. And then, I mean, when you're a kid and you got millions of dollars flashed in front of your face, you're like, oh, okay, I guess I'll believe them, right? I mean, these are young 18-year-olds. Like, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Like you were saying, these are young 18-year-olds.
these are young 18-year-olds. I mean, unfortunately for them, some of them come from bad situations where, their family doesn't have the most money. So they feel like, oh, I can be that pass for my family or whatever else. So I do think that plays into it a little bit. But I mean, Zach Smith literally talked about it on a show just yesterday. Like when Urban Meyer came to Ohio State, Gene Smith told him, oh, no, we're not going to get a bowl ban. There's no scholarship reductions. We're fine. We're fine. Like we will do everything we can to make sure there's no bowl ban. What happened? Bowl ban. Like they lied to Urban Meyer to try to get him to come to Ohio State. Now it worked, and thankfully it was only 1 year. But I mean, these people over at Team Up North, they got to be lying to every single recruit at this point and just saying, oh, there's nothing going on. Because if you know that you're not going to be able to play in the playoffs for 2, 3, possibly even 4 years, why would you go? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, okay, so that's what I was going to ask you is okay, if you're lying to these kids, aren't you setting yourself up even worse? Because now they can sue you, your collectives, you went back on your word, right? Like now that 10 million, I know you're going to probably put something in the contract with some stipulations and things like that or whatever. But I mean, if you're telling me, hey, I'm coming here, you're telling me that there's going to be nothing, and I was on track to get this 10 million, but now you lied. Is there a clause like does the Team Up North get a lying clause in there where they get to lie? And I mean, because I think that this could set their program back up like even more and set them back even more if they are lying to these kids and these kids end up hitting the portal. Because I think that if these kids hit the portal, it will be in droves and money will not be something that could just keep them there.
I really hope you're right. I really hope you're right. The only thing I'll say that makes me not believe that a little bit is look at what happened with Florida, right? You had Jaden Rashada. They promised him $13 million. I mean, Florida didn't lose like the most talent in the world because of that. Sure, they lost Jaden Rashada, but like, I mean, they didn't even pay him. Like, it wasn't like, hey, we lied to you about this. Like, they didn't even pay the kid, and they still managed to keep a lot of their other talent. So, I don't know. I mean, Florida's not been good, so I'm not, like, arguing that, like, the Team Up North is going to be good or anything like that. But, like, I don't know. In this world, like, this day and age of, like, college football, I don't know. Like, a lie is a big deal, but so is millions of dollars,
True. So, hey, we lied to you, but we paid you. We paid you. That's the new culture up there. We gonna lie to you, but we gonna pay you for lying to you.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
We may have lied to him, but we're not gonna lie to you. You'll get paid. Don't worry. So
it's a joke.
It's ridiculous. All right, let's talk about a few of the games really fast, Mike, and then we can get out of here. Ole Miss falls to Florida. That obviously helps out Indiana. Penn State just scored, but they are still down 7-10 to Minnesota. Nebraska, Wisconsin. Nebraska's up 14-10 on Wisconsin, and that team up north is up 10-0 on Northwestern, but Northwestern is in the red zone right now, so there's a possibility of them scoring. Your thoughts on anything going on in the Big Ten or the loss by Ole Miss?
Yeah, and BYU look like they about to get smacked by Arizona State.
Oh, yeah.
So
I just saw
that. It's 14-0. So I mean, I think Penn State they should pull it out, but we've been seeing a lot of chaos, right? A lot of chaos going on in college football. Tennessee, they got a cupcake game. They're taking care of business. I don't know. Can Mississippi State go ahead and take out Mizzou? Right now they have the ball. It's 3-0. For some reason, Mizzou continues to be ranked. I don't think that they should be ranked. They haven't looked like a top team all year, even though they only have 3 losses, but they just never look like a ranked team. But I know why they're ranked and why the SEC wants them ranked and wants to have them there, but they just don't look like one of those teams. There are some Oklahoma fans that believe that they can give Alabama a run for their money. I don't see that. But other than that, I'll say this. Miami, that defense is horrendous. If Wake Forest had any type of freaking offense, they could have just kept scoring on Miami as well. And I kept telling you guys about SMU. I really think SMU is the best team in the ACC.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think SMU has found something up there. I think Clemson is probably their biggest threat. Well, Clemson and Miami, obviously, but Clemson is another threat there. But I don't think Clemson. I don't know what the tiebreakers are in the ACC, but I don't think Clemson makes it. I think Miami makes it against SMU in that situation. So I don't know. I don't think Clemson and Miami did they play already?
No. It's weird. None of them teams, like me and Terry was talking about on the fans, is like it was weird how the ACC had all of those teams somehow avoid each other, but like in the Big Ten, Ohio State couldn't avoid none of the top teams in the Big Ten.
Yeah,
had to play them all. So,
and that's what I said on my Big Ten account the other day. Is I was like, we got to fix something with like the top teams not playing the top teams. Like right now, you have Ohio State playing 3 of the 4 top teams in the Big Ten, and Oregon has played 1, and Penn State has played 1, and Indiana has played 1. It's all been the same one. Like,
yeah.
So, like at this point, you gotta figure something out with the 18-team conference. You got to do something. I don't want 10 conference games, but you got to figure something out with like guaranteeing that you play a top dog or something like that goes on. Oh, Minnesota just threw an interception. So,
anything march the ball right down there.
Oh my gosh, Kansas just scored. It's the second quarter and Colorado's down 17-0. Who knows?
Oh my goodness, man. I was counting on Colorado. I was counting on Colorado to go ahead, get this dub, bro. And I was hoping that they get the dub, they win the Big 12 and college football playoff, because the storylines would have been amazing, but they can't take another L. And it's just weird how Kansas just all of a sudden, like the past few weeks, just have found their stride.
I'm sick for my man Dallin, man. 2 carries, 0 yards so far in this game. I'm sick for Dallin Hayden.
I'm not, man. He could have trusted the process.
I know. I just really liked him. You know, like I hate that he made the decision. I really like Dallin Hayden. So
I agree.
But he put himself in the prime basket. So that's what you get. All right. Anything else, Mike, before we get done here?
Nah, man. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on the X app at 216_Wildboy. Also, catch me on Best Damn Media YouTube. You can catch me throughout the week. I will be on there as well, and in the spaces and our Discord. So, JR, where can they find you?
JR's rankings, JR's_rankings on Twitter. I also have Big Ten content over at the Big Ten Huddle. Cover football on the Big Ten Huddle podcast and college basketball on the Big Ten Huddle -basketball over there as well. Come check us out. We have a show tonight, power ranking show after the Minnesota Penn State game, and then we'll have another show tomorrow night. Recap the entire week.
Yeah, and hey, we appreciate all of y'all joining, man. Thank y'all for coming to the Voice of College Football channel. Make sure that you plug into the network. If you want to find out something about, hey, the Buckeyes, who they go up against, the Voice of College Football has all types of breakdowns, all types of different team channels so that you can find out about those teams. Make sure that you're subscribed, that you're locked in with the Voice of College Football network, because right here, this is where we're going to take care of you.
That's facts. That's facts. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. We do appreciate it. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Oh, wait.
I-O.